Very good evening to everybody gathered here this evening. It sure is a day that God has made. It's wonderful. The sunshine is so bright that I could get some tan. So, it was the finals of the academic sections in the schooling year, and one of the professors, Stuart Blakey, is asked at the University of Edinburgh to monitor the oral readings of the students in that university. As this professor sits back at the stage and is listening to the students during the oral presentation, there comes this boy who holds the hand in his left hand and is about to start his reading recital. And the professor, Stuart Blakey, thunders at him, saying, "The other hand." The boy, ashamed, lifts up his right hand, and Professor Stuart Blakey, with tears in his heart, in his eyes, he comes towards the student and hugs him and says, "I am sorry, I did not know that." When we look into this situation, we see that Professor humbles himself to talk to the student and apologize. And this story has been once being told in a big auditorium years later. And then as we look into the situation, this boy is also present in that audience. He's a big boy now. He's a man. He grew up to be a man. And after the presentation is over and the story is told, this man comes running to the stage and lifts up his right hand, and the hand ended at the wrist. And then he says, because of Stuart Blakey, the professor, the Christian professor at the University of Edinburgh, I have become a Christian. The professor has humbled himself to apologize to a student, and it defined this man to be a Christian. We can find a similar situation in the Bible. Looking at Matthew 15, verses 21 to 28. If you could turn to there, please. We see that a Canaanite woman comes up to Jesus Christ in his ministry, and he's trying to talk to Christ, pleading him for some help towards her daughter. Her daughter is oppressed by a demon, and she is humbly asking Christ with a very faithful heart to heal her daughter. As the story is said that Christ says, "I have come for the household of Israel." And she humbly, politely asks God, again Christ, even the dogs are to be fed. They eat the crumbs of the table. So when we look into the situation, we see three lessons that the faithful woman of Canaanite, is giving us. The first point that we see in this is she perceived her own pitiful condition of need. In verse 22, as it reads, "And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, 'Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon.'" She is humbly, politely asking Christ, and she is talking about her own pitiful situation and telling him about the need. The second lesson that we see from this situation is that from verse 23, she patiently persisted. She continued even though she is denied. She has been denied, saying, "I have come for the household of Israel." As Christ answers her, and the apostles say the disciples were about to send her away, she still persists, continues humbly asking Christ to help her in this situation. The third thing that we see here is she humbly pursued Christ even in the face of troublesome situation. It was a situation, her daughter is suffering, her daughter is oppressed by a demon. Even in a tight situation, at a tight spot, she is humbly pleading Christ. She pursued Christ. 3 lessons. She persevered, she persisted, and she pursued Christ humbly. She is a very faithful woman. Because of by her faith, Christ heals her daughter. Now, this lesson has to tell us something. Faith is required to be saved, but humility is even required to attain that faith. We see that the woman has showed a great humility in faith. This evening, I want you to meditate on 3 points on this lesson. Asking you, do we ever contemplate our pitiful condition? Do we agree on our pitiful condition and ask God with a humility heart? Do we humbly persist when all the requests seem to be denied? Are we humble at that point of time? And lastly, do we humbly pursue Christ even in the times of troubles, greater troubles? We see this faithful woman is having her motherly instincts, and even in that situation, she is continuing humbly asking Christ for help. Tonight, what I want you to meditate on, think about is, how humble are we as Christians? We see the illustration about Professor Stuart Blakey. He humbled himself to a student, and that changed a student's life. If you're here and if your faith is asking for an action, come as we stand and sing.